dummy, be a fool, switch off your brains, please untrue. Let me give this a try. My name is Hilda.
Let me give this a try. My name is Hilda.
Cool.
Oh, Hilda, you look beautiful tonight.
Thanks. You look totally hot.
Really? These are for you.
Thanks. Let's go.
Okay.
Daddy up, daddy up, daddy up. I want you. Daddy up, daddy up. Daddy up, daddy up. Daddy up, daddy up. You don't stop day by day.
Ladies, gentlemen, Sergeant Slater, welcome to episode number 27 of Sabrina's Witch Trials. This is the show where each episode we venture back into the mid-1990s to rewatch, review, and reminisce about everyone's favorite Friday Night Spellfest, Sabrina, the Teenage Witch. I'm Alex Araujo, your host with the your host with the average. It's not appealing, I agree. Here to talk about episode 27 of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, a very peculiar, but upon further inspection, fun, I think. Average, much like myself, episode of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Here to talk with me about it, talk to me about it, and talk for me about it, because I'm going to lose my voice. Everyone's favorite guest on the Witch Trials, and by everyone, I mean everyone. That's what I mean. She's that media maven over at chrisconkers.com, writing about all the things that I have very little interest in. Cris Araujo is here. Cris, how you doing?
I'm good.
Always good to have you back on the Witch Trials, talking 1997's favorite TGIF show for many girls and
Boys.
many boys. I think
Let's be honest, Al.
I think a lot of boys were still very Boy Meets World centric at this point.
Okay, sure.
97 is a good. I think 97 was the first year. I think it was the last year of high school for Corey, and then it was the first year of college for Eric. So,
Yeah, but they're not mutually exclusive. You can like both.
Oh, absolutely, and I do, and that's why I have the entire series of Boy Meets World on digital video disc. That's right.
You had to
Full
say the whole
words here on the Witch Trials. Cris, before we started recording here today, we watched a very fun video recorded at the Stanley Los Angeles Comic-Con in 2017, where the cast of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, a lot of the cast, not all of them.
I mean, the most important people.
Libby
really.
wasn't there.
That's true.
Valerie wasn't there.
Your heart must have been broken.
I would have liked to see Jenna Lee Green there. It would have been fun.
I'm kind of surprised she wasn't there.
I mean, she does work on Broadway pretty regularly, so just,
but
you know.
I mean, it's an appearance. Like,
Yeah, but, you know.
that's what stand-ins are for.
Oh,
Right?
on
Stand-ins?
Broadway. For a second, I thought you
You
meant...
confused me for a second. I was like, is that not the right term? Like,
For a second, I thought you meant on, like, the reunion thing. Like, and filling in for Jenna Lee Green is this woman.
yeah, no, I don't think that would work.
But yeah, we watched the video. It was fun to see them all back together
It was
again.
cute.
Clearly...
I mean, they put a little, like, for my taste, they put a little too much attention on the college years, because...
Honestly, I don't think they put a lot of attention on it. I felt bad for them because, like, yeah, you're part of the Sabrina war and everything. Nobody cares about you. Those were the bad seasons, and we all know it. Nobody likes the WB
maybe
seasons
some people
as much.
really loved the college years. I don't know.
I can't imagine that people liked it more than, like, the first 3 seasons.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't, but, you know. But
Anyway.
it's pretty much every show's like that.
I thought
Once you go to college.
my main takeaways were Caroline Ray is a lot funnier in person.
She's so cute.
I can see why they gave her a ultimately unsuccessful talk show. I wanted to hear more from Beth Broderick, but
Yeah.
that's a bit of a letdown. And Nick Mackay is a house now. He's a very big man.
Well, was he before?
He wasn't this big. He was
Yeah.
big. He's always been big, but he wasn't
Well,
this big.
Who cares?
But he still has that voice. He can go
Still got
tomorrow
them
and be
chops.
Salem if you
And
want
he's
to.
still hilarious. And I agree. I think Caroline Ray is a lot funnier as herself than she is when other people are writing for her.
Yeah, I mean, she does have moments on Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and, you know, we're only 1 season in, and a lot of her funnier stuff is still to come. What to look forward to, of course, with Caroline Ray. She is funny. We'll see what happens. She gets some funny things to happen. She gets a clock shop at one point, but we're not there yet.
That's not funny.
Chris, this is episode 27, as I said. Dummy for Love. And, of course, as you know, here on the Witch Trials, we being me, ask my guests to describe the episode we watched in a set number of words. This episode, I want you to describe Dummy for Love in exactly 7 words, and ideally a full sentence.
Okay. Sabrina pimps out Hilda to Mr. Kraft.
That is accurate. Totally true, and it really does capture the essence of why Sabrina is such a horrible person in this episode. Last episode I described this episode as maybe having the worst thing Sabrina's ever done. And at least to this point, I think that is true, but we'll get into that. First aired Dummy for Love October 3rd, 1997, to 11.4 million viewers, 7.8 rating, and the 51st most viewed piece of TV that given week. So a bit of a drop in the second season from the first. I think there might have been a time slot change.
Lots of Jenny fans.
Yeah, that's right. They revolted.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think Sabrina will handle it for the next 6 seasons. We open in the Spellman kitchen, where Hilda and Salem are surrounded by waffles, just piles and piles of them. As she tells him that the next batch out of the toaster are his. He says he's reached his limit, which happens to be 30, as Zelda walks in, wondering why they're celebrating Belgium. They explain that they're trying to win the Whirls Waffles sweepstakes.
Whittles.
On the box, it's spelled WIRR.
No, it's not.
Bet me $5,000.
Hold on. I read it because I thought, oh, that's cute. It's like whittle, like a whittle waffle.
I thought that was cute too, except they're lowercase r's.
Hold on.
Anyway, the sweepstakes is for solid gold waffle, folks.
Nope, they are not. They're T's, but they're lowercase T's.
So it's whittles.
Yeah, whittles, like
Okay.
whittle waffles.
All right. They look like R's.
No, they're T's. Hold on. No, because they do look like ours. It's got the little bump on top and the T's to the side. It's a poor choice in font.
It really is. And
she definitely says whittle.
She does, which I thought was weird when they look like ours. Anyway, so the Whittles Waffles sweepstakes, a solid gold waffle. Zelda can't care less, but she does ask Hilda to mail her Other Realm Witches Council duty deferment letter through the toaster once she's done wasting waffles. Honestly, it's what she's doing. She explains that she's too busy with her physics work, reiterating how important it is to Hilda, but she just says that she's not an idiot and she'll take care of it herself. We then see an adorable sight as Salem has a large pile of waffles on his head.
This is where the selfie culture began.
That's right.
Take my picture.
This is where that well-known "put a waffle on your head" meme started.
The waffle challenge.
So yeah, Salem then tells Hilda to get the camera.
Salem?
No, Salem, her girlfriend Salem Saberhagen. Salem then tells Hilda to get the camera because he's got the waffles on his noodle. And Hilda then gets a bit of advice from Zelda, a bit of sage wisdom, noting that, the solid gold waffle, probably in the heavy box. Probably check the heavy one. Hilda and Salem then just look a little like, oh, darn it, as we go to the open.
Oh, by the way, did you happen to think that the solid gold waffle might be in the heavy box?
Chris,
ow!
This is your first time experiencing the season 2 open with the slightly chimier.
It's definitely slightly different.
Yeah, I like it though. I think it's got a fuller sound.
It's fine. I miss the old one.
Do you?
Yeah.
I think the old one's a little tinny.
I don't mind the tinniness.
That's fine. What did you think of this open here, Chris? Let's start with all the waffles. Too many waffles? I counted at least 15 boxes of waffles.
I was not looking that closely.
That's why I'm the host.
I did notice that they were square waffles.
They are, which I like.
Which are very hard to find, I've been told. So
that Eggo culture is really taken over with Stranger Things and everything.
my old boss used to tell me that he was always looking for the square waffles in the store and you could never find them anymore. So anytime I always tried to see if they had square waffles when I was at a grocery store to send him a picture, but
I thought the weird thing, I have nothing to say after that.
I've got nothing to say to that.
Moving out of that as quickly as possible. I thought it was funny, like the waffles that come out of the toaster initially to open the scene look really good. Like I don't really eat frozen waffles, but those look like some good waffles. But the ones in front of Salem,
they're so pale,
are disgusting. They look like they're made of like styrofoam or something.
They probably are because they're set waffles.
Just use regular waffles. You got a bunch of them.
Yeah, but I don't think they won't hold up well, and it's a prop. Like you don't know how it's going to be under lights, and then how long that they're doing it. And
if you can put real ones in the toaster.
They probably did fresh ones for every take.
Yeah, so put some of the old fresh ones in front of Salem.
I don't know. I'm sure they had their reasons.
What did you think of Hilda's outfit in the scene?
Okay, her shirt literally just says all over it.
It says love all over.
I thought it said love all over, but then as I kept staring at the shirt, I think it just says all over.
The word love is there a lot. I think the phrase is love all over.
That's
the only one that makes any sense.
Are you sure that you're reading love, or that because love is part of all over, Al? I thought I saw love all over, and then I realized no, it just says all over, and I'm reading the love. I think it was on her arm or something, but that's part of all over.
Man,
do you see?
Because there's a red L-O, so
but it's part of. Do you see the A-L?
Yeah,
it's aloe.
Maybe
Al Love.
Believe me, I saw my name right there.
Al Lover.
My God, we've cracked it.
That's what it is. It's a code for Al.
Maybe that's like the play on words. It's like, oh, love is in all over, and
yeah, I think it is.
It's a stupid looking
but
shirt.
It really just says all over her shirt.
We can agree that it's a stupid looking shirt.
Or Al Lover.
Al Lover is
Caroline Ray's really just trying to send you a little message in a bottle through time.
Sending messages to a 5-year-old Al.
No, she's sending them to you now. She's just doing it through time.
What foresight she has.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a weird looking shirt.
She is a witch. So
I thought the skirt she was wearing looked very nice though.
Yeah, there's a lot of those skirts in
Sabrina.
In Sabrina, but also like I feel like in this episode there's a lot of them. And they're back. They're back in now.
I thought actually she looked pretty good despite the
all
shirt.
Over.
Despite the shirt all over her.
All over. Also, I thought it was really, really weird that they're doing this to find a golden waffle, solid gold waffle, when they're fucking witches, and they.
Absolutely.
You want to zap in a gold waffle? You can do that.
Or exponentially more gold.
Yeah. Or just zap in whatever it is you were gonna buy with that gold.
Yeah, but this way they get a story of finding a golden waffle.
The weirder thing is like, food.
You've bought at least 15 boxes of waffles. Donate them to a shelter or something. Don't just eat them all.
No, just eat them all.
Or give them to your cat who's going to die. The one other thing I had here was Nick Bakai's delivery here in this episode, in the scene. But from now on, like we're starting to get like peak Nick Bakai Salem delivery, where you really start to see like the wittiness and just that like sarcastic sauciness of Salem. 3S, Salem sarcastic sauciness. It's really good here. I really like it's just one of the benefits of being a felon line. I thought that was a really funny joke.
It was smart.
And it was well delivered too.
I don't have to do witch's duty anymore. And that's just one of the perks of being a felon.
Anything else here, Chris?
I did notice, did you notice Zelda's outfit?
It was like a green thing?
It was a green top. I think it was a sweater set, like a tank top with a cardigan, and brown pants. And this is the first of 3 tree outfits in this episode.
All right, I'll take that. Chris is doing a little gimmick this episode.
No, I noticed it. I was like, oh, she looks like a tree. And then later, there's another outfit. And then later, there's another outfit.
I can think of one of them. Maybe I can think of the other one. Is one of them Harvey?
No.
Okay. Because Harvey's wearing a very brown shirt at once.
It's like brown and red.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get there. I can't wait to find out. Maybe I can't see the forest for the tree outfits. Got it? Huh? This is what I do, folks.
That's poor penmanship, Al.
Yeah, whatever. Fuck off. off. In Westbridge, Valerie and Sabrina are gawking over the hunky jock Kirk, who Valerie is smitten over. Sabrina notes that all of his beauty is on the outside where it counts, as Valerie then pumps Harvey for info on Kirk. After he notes that he thinks Kirk has athlete's foot, Valerie swoons hilariously.
Hey, you're on the football team with Kirk. Tell me everything you know about him.
I think he gets athlete's foot a lot.
Carry me over, sweet Jehovah.
This is why I love Lindsay Sloan as Valerie.
That quote.
It's pretty funny.
What the fuck?
It doesn't matter.
No one would say it, ever. It's like the most weird writing.
It's very funny, though. I don't care if it's like not really pertinent to a teenager. It's very well performed. I think Lindsay Sloan delivers it hilariously, and it's good writing. She then leaves after asking Jehovah to take her over. Jehovah take me over. Hashtag Jehovah take me over. Sabrina then asks Harvey why he's so upset looking, and he says that he just found out that Joseph Stalin was a bad guy. Bit of judgmental there, Harvey. There are many sides to the cube that we call life.
Nothing is black and white.
He's a pretty terrible human being, in all honesty. That means that Harvey funked his test, however, and Sabrina tells him that maybe
you should study.
Maybe you should study.
Dumbass.
That is what she says, but he says that he can't because of all the extra practice coach has been making him do. She then gives him the advice of maybe asking the coach to let him out early, but he says that, as the coach always says, anybody can read, but you can't teach speed. You can, however, buy it in little baggies on every corner in the 90s.
From Coach.
From Coach. $100 an ounce. Is that a good price for speed? I don't know. $100?
I don't
Seems
know.
a little expensive.
You're asking the wrong person.
But 90s, I mean, everything was cheaper then. Sabrina then realizes that, his coach's lunchtime weight belt probably should have given away his lack of interest in studying and his focus on sports. She says lunchtime weight belt, or she says the fact that
Wearing
he wears a weight belt at lunch. I have to.
It's just fucking weird.
It is weird, but maybe he's gonna lift like a really heavy turkey leg.
Maybe he does squats while choosing his pudding cup
and shits himself.
What?
You laugh. It's all like
it's so stupid.
Later at home, Sabrina tells Salem that she's writing an expose for the school paper about how sports are valued over education, and Salem couldn't give less of a fuck. Hilda then comes in, walking directly into an oddly placed indoor tree, and she gets a passive warning from Sabrina, which I kind of liked. It's like, a tree in the kitchen. Seems like it's something that happens in their lives so often that it's not important anymore, and I like that bit of world building. Or I'm reading too much into that delivery. One of them is true. She then notes that it's probably from when she spilled that bark extract while making that spell to make her former beau, Randy, a better listener. We then get a quick cutaway to definitely the most horrifying sight this episode. Likely the most horrifying sight this season or series. We get a quick look at Randy, and he's just like covered in ears. His whole face is covered in ears, and he's just screaming. It's terrifying.
Guess he'll have to play it by ear.
All right, it's one for Chris. Zelda then walks into the room as we return to the Spelmans, and she's yelling at Hilda because Hilda forgot to mail that fucking deferment, and now she's got Witches' Council duty in the morning. Hilda suggests that she just throw away the letter, and after some coaxing, tries it, despite the possible effects on Sabrina's development. You're going to turn into a felon.
Like the cat.
And then she won't have to vote, so it'll be great, or whatever. She is, however, shocked to find out that when she does try to destroy the letter, it's undestroyable, and just wishes that she was an only child. Not me, because then who would be on my podcast?
True.
Chris.
Yes.
These scenes, let's go back to Westbridge.
Right.
I think that it's just really refreshing. I think I've mentioned this before, but it's worth noting again, especially in like 1997, to just see like two female characters just like gawking over a guy and not being like, oh, he's such a good guy. Oh, he helps old ladies cross the street. It's just like, God, he's hot. I think
it's realistic.
It's nice to see, and it's something that definitely wasn't seen often in the 90s on TV. Or prior to that, maybe slightly more now, but it's still refreshing to see.
I don't know. I feel like 90210, they definitely were like, oh, that guy's hot.
Maybe a little.
I don't really care about anything else because he's hot.
This is aimed at a slightly younger audience. And I think that's an important thing to show kids that women can objectify men also. It's an early lesson that should be taught.
I mean, think about it this way. Like, I was thinking about this when you were talking about the scene, and
you're prattling on.
No, I mean,
I know.
Sabrina talks about how his beauty's on the outside. She doesn't know him, so how does she know that there's not some very deep part of him? Maybe he's a really nice guy. Maybe he's super smart. Maybe he is a. Yeah, I can't even. Maybe he's great. Okay,
it shows how vapid Chris is. Maybe he's smart.
No, I couldn't think of the words. I was gonna say like, maybe
caring?
he's like
maybe he works at a shelter. Can't think of the words. Maybe he pets homeless people.
He pets homeless people
because they need. We were watching an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians today.
Oh my god!
That Chris wanted to watch.
Al doesn't watch it.
I
watch it. I've been watching the last like 2 seasons, I think.
Yes, and at the end of the episode, there was a scenes from next week where Kim learns that homelessness is a thing apparently, and is like, "Oh my god, people who don't live in mansions? I can't believe."
I'm gonna make you watch that episode just so you get more
best of luck
info.
Can we talk about Danny? Was the guy's Randy? Randy was the boyfriend.
Yeah, that was
what
weird.
The fuck, Hilda? Like, even if this is a temporary thing that wears off, he's probably killed himself. Like, imagine waking up in the morning just having ears all over your body. Like, you'd probably go insane.
Does it surprise you that?
That she's not dating anyone? No.
This isn't something I thought about beforehand, but like, does it surprise you that she and Zelda don't try to make an effort to date more witches or wizards, I guess?
Well, she had the thing with Drell.
But I mean, since then, like, pretty much everyone she dates is mortal.
There are some episodes later on where she dates witches. There's definitely one when Sabrina's in college where she dates a guy with a flying car. Zelda. I'm sure there have been some times when Zelda's dated witches, but I can't really think of many.
I mean, I don't know. I think
they've lived in the mortal realm for so long. I mean,
yeah, I think part of it has to do with, I don't know, maybe it's the power dynamic, because you do see Hilda and Zelda as like very strong women, and part of that has to do with the fact that they're also witches. I mean, obviously, if they weren't witches, they'd still be strong women, but I think that kind of gives them an additional level of strength. I don't know, and maybe, especially in the beginning, if they were dating other witches or wizards,
right? It would just be typical guy, typical girl stuff.
Yeah. Like it wouldn't feel special that they're witches. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, everyone's a witch. I think the fact that you see them dealing with mortals more, it makes them stand out more, makes them a little more special. I don't know.
What'd you have here, Chris?
So back at the school, did you notice Harvey's outfit?
Did I notice Harvey's outfit?
Yeah.
I have a photo of it on my iPad right now.
So,
you want to talk about the collar first?
Well, first let's talk about the piercings, because I don't remember him having both of them in the first season.
I think he had the regular ears.
He had one on the bottom, right? A lobe piercing.
I think by the end of the season he might have had one in each. But now he's got multiple in each.
Yeah, but I forget what the cartilage piercing, right? That's what it's called? on top. He has 2. He has 1 on each ear.
He does. Yeah, I don't think he had those.
I didn't remember him having those. I was kind of like, damn, Harvey's trying to be edgy. And then he's got the chain on his pants.
Yes.
Like the wallet chain thing. So I'm like, it's like, oh, okay, Harvey's trying to be edgy. I mean, they were very popular things in the 90s / 2000s, whatever. But then he's wearing a fucking like Easter egg yellow polyester shirt with like legit 70s collar.
It is stunning. Like, as wide of a collar as you think it is, it's slightly wider.
I mean, I've told you before that polyester did make a comeback in the 90s, and we've seen it, before on the show, but the yellow paired with like the random like bad boy details, I don't understand it.
I feel like it's just like two bad things together made this bad shirt. Like, if it was just the yellow shirt with like a regular collar, it wouldn't be that bad. And if it was just a wide collared shirt, it wouldn't be that bad. But the combination of the two really is striking.
It just also, but it looks straight out of the 70s.
It very much does, yes.
And then on top of that, I just don't understand it. He's wearing a freaking black undershirt with it. It's like he wants to be a bad boy, but doesn't.
Michelle won't let him.
I feel like it's very different from what Harvey was like when we first met him, and like what his personality seems to be like in the show. Like Harvey, especially in the first season, Harvey's a lovable doof. Like he's a sweetheart.
I think by the end of season 1, like he's still lovable and everything, but like he's really has absorbed more of that like 90s aesthetic, as where early on it just seemed like he's just a nice guy and he's like a typical nice guy.
He seemed a lot more. Like, it seemed like he was very clean cut, and like he was a jock, but there was a certain level of wholesomeness to him, I don't know. His personality, like in terms of the writing, doesn't necessarily seem like he's that different. I mean, he doesn't seem like he's trying to be edgier.
No.
So really, it's just almost just his clothing.
He's got new clothing attitude.
Oh, and the hair.
I was going to mention, this is the first time you've seen the new Harvey do.
I like it.
I don't. Like, it looks better here than it did in the first 2 episodes. But I still don't like it. And like, I have the theory that I was telling Brian about this last episodes, that
he cut it and
he cut it himself and showed up first day of season 2 to shoot, and they were like, "Fuck, what have you done? We'll put you in a pork pie hat. It'll be fine." I mean, because those are cool.
The thing is, he was young, and the show was really successful. I mean, he probably, to a certain degree, kind of rebelled against the attention or the things that people were trying to put on him.
I just think that, like, when you have what you look like dictated to you for like 9 months or whatever, when you do finally go on break and it's like you can do whatever you want. Yeah, maybe you get a haircut because you don't have to deal with long hair for a while. But when you show up and you still have short hair, again, this is all a theory, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if it was true.
Yeah.
Sure, you want your haircut, but then, when you come back and the people on set have to deal with it not looking like Harvey.
But it happens all the time on TV shows.
Sure it does.
Where people, while they're on hiatus, they cut their hair and then they try and work it into the first episode of season, either through the story, either way it's through the story, but either they include it, like,
because that's how
they'll make them wear
works.
A wig and then have them cut their hair and it'd be like, oh, look, or they'll just be like, oh, you look different. Oh, I got a haircut.
Talking about fashion and hair for a second. Sabrina here.
Isn't it weird how much we talk about that in terms of the show?
No, it's like half of the gimmick.
This isn't a fashion podcast.
It's like half of the gimmick of the show is talking about clothing and hair of the 90s. I don't mind this like watercolory speckled kind of blue outfit she's wearing. Doesn't really look like something Sabrina Teenage Witch would wear, though.
I feel like her style is so different even in one episode. There's so many different like layers.
This one especially.
Yeah, but I that's the thing. I feel like they just try and go for trend versus a personality. Do you know what I mean? So it's not so much about like, this is something that Sabrina would be into, like her character would be into. It's more like, this is what's now, so let's use that. And I think that's actually important because, I mean, obviously it makes less sense, but I think it's important in terms of the popularity of the show, because as much as we talk about the fashion, we talk about the fashion this much for a reason, because when I was a little girl watching this show, like, that was a big reason why I watched. Like, I loved the outfits. That might seem stupid. I mean, I loved everything else too, but the clothes was important. Like, I remember going shopping and, this was like, it must have been, I don't know if she was in college yet. It might not have been the college years yet. But I remember she had this first, well, there's a couple of outfits that I'm thinking of now, but I remember she had this like blue top, that was like a ballet, collar on top. And I wanted one like that so bad. And then I was at the flea market with Mom and found one and I bought it and it didn't fit, like, it fit, but like, it fit like tight on my stomach, which made me so uncomfortable. But I was like, no, I'm going to have this top because it's exactly the style that she has. And I think I had like a flouncy skirt that had like a dragon on it.
Okay.
It was like very Sabrina.
Very Hilda there, Chris.
No, I think Sabrina had one. Or no, but like the whole like, I'm not going to say like chinoiserie, like that's more like interiors and stuff, but like,
that black outfit that she wears later on.
But she wears a lot of outfits like that. And it's not just in this episode. Like, she wears them for quite a while.
Oh, sure.
Because I remember, like, episodes, hell, even episodes when she's in college where she has stuff like that. Like, it really did, like, leave an influence on me. So the fact that they make this effort to be really on trend and really current with their style, it's important, even though there's no like certain Sabrina look, I guess.
I agree. The pigtails?
I didn't like them.
Yeah. I you know what? It's like, they don't look bad. They just don't really feel like something Sabrina the Teenage Witch would be wearing.
The back of her hair kind of looked sloppily done in the back.
In the front too, it was a little like
undone.
Haphazard, yeah.
But there is like a scene later where she has, it's like her hair's like pulled back, but only on the top. And if you see her part is a zigzag. And that was very of the time.
I remember that one. Chris, the Westbridge Lantern Room the next day is filled with confusion as Sabrina is looking befuddled at the layout, only to have Libby walk up and explain to her that she took her editorial out of the paper as it was offensive to cheerleaders. Sabrina says that she can't do that as Valerie is the editor, but she notes that nope, she is. Valerie goes on to explain that she let Libby be editor for a week so that she would introduce her to Kirk, a very Woodward and Bernstein thing to do. Sabrina asks how the meeting with Kirk went, and she finds out that Valerie was introduced to Kirk through that old courting method of getting blamed for pushing him into a water fountain. Just then, Sabrina spots the final edit going out to the printers and stops the tall, gawky teen, offering to take it to the printers herself as she walks past it on the way home. She then sets about doing some magic, replacing a photo of Libby cheerleading with one of her going hog on some pies. Really, like I don't know, gullet deep in those pies. Sorry, Jenna. And also removing an article about Libby's fashion to replace it with her editorial. At lunch the next day, Harvey compliments Sabrina's editorial as she knows that he was her inspiration. He says he knows, but hopes that Coach doesn't find out. A furious Libby then comes in and comes up to them as Sabrina thanks her for printing her editorial. She angrily notes that she didn't, saying Sabs must have, adding that she must have doctored this photo of her eating, going on to note that she doesn't even like pie. But a confused Harvey just says, everyone loves pie, and then Melissa Joan Hart does a great thing. Says, quite hilariously, how could you win a pie eating contest if you don't like pie? It's a great line, and an even more angry Libby then just walks off.
Sheer will, that's how.
That's right. Commitment to victory, that's how you do it. She walks off in a huff.
There you are.
Hi, Libby. Thanks for putting my editorial in the paper.
I didn't. You must have. And you also must have doctored this ridiculous photo of me. I don't even like pie.
Everybody likes pie.
How can you win a pie eating contest if you don't like pie?
Later in the halls, Mr. Kraft accosts Sabrina, saying that she has to write a retraction on her editorial, but Sabrina just notes that it's an opinion which you couldn't retract because it's your opinion. He says that the biggest donations to Westbridge come from sports, and that Sabrina the Teenage Gandhi isn't going to be ruining that. She then mentions that she wrote it because of her boyfriend Harvey, but when Kraft inquires about Harvey, Sabrina realizes what's going on, and rather than cover up anything, just goes into a coughing fit and leaves. It's not like she's like, no, I said Garvey. Nope, she just says, cough, cough, I have to go now. Back to my home planet that needs me. Louis then walks by as she and Mr. Kraft agree on Sabrina's weirdness, and he calls her a good American to give us a little bit of like, are you two sleeping together? What's going on here? There's a lot of these in the early like Mr. Kraft episodes where it's like he and Libby exchange a knowing glance that's like, what's going on? Nothing questionable. That's what's going on. Chris, I'd like to start with Sabrina's outfit in the Westbridge Lantern Room, if we could.
Okay.
It looks like something Sabrina the Teenage Witch would wear, but would have worn on like episode 2. Yeah. Not something she would have worn in season 2.
It's
is this number 2 on the tree chart?
No.
Oh.
No. This is not one of the tree outfits.
Yes. It is the pants are very like rusty brown.
Yeah.
The top is very mustardy with some like floral print on it.
Yeah. Which
and
is it a crinkle fabric? I thought it might be.
I don't think so. I think it's just like wrinkly.
Oh, really? Because I think it might be purposefully wrinkly, like almost a crinkly fabric.
It does. It just looks like it's wrinkled.
I only noticed it when she was on the other side of her, and like I saw her sleeve. There was like a close up of her sleeve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's okay. It's in terms of the outfits of the episode, it's nowhere near the top.
It just looks like it's like
I mean, and by top I mean the worst. Yeah. Like
it just looks like a million steps, not a million, but like 10 steps back in terms of like Sabrina's evolution in terms of fashion. It just looks like episode 2 Sabrina.
It does.
Oddly, because her hair looks great though. Like that looks fine.
Her hair looks nice.
Don't you love that I brought the iPad into this?
Yeah, it's great.
Now, an exciting thing for me, and undoubtedly will be for you, Chris. Mm-hmm. I have a very powerful supercomputer here. So
this is Sabrina's laptop.
No, yeah, I have a quantum laptop here, Chris. I was able to find and enhance not only Sabrina's editorial here, but also the article which it replaced on Libby's fashion.
Is it a real article?
They are like actually written.
Good job.
It's not just like
good job.
We copy and pasted an article from a newspaper.
When they just like write fake words and. Mm-hmm.
A lot of movies do it. If you watch CinemaSins, it's a big thing. I was just going to say,
shout out CinemaSins.
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 The Spice YouTube channel. So the Libby article, not actually written by Libby, but written about Libby, is called "What's New on Libby?" ?
That's an article.
That's the article that Sabrina's editorial replaces.
This is news, Libby.
Isn't it? Because it starts with the whopper sentence, "Earth tones are back."
Yeah, just look at Sabrina's outfit.
Very true. She was reading the paper. That's the news on everyone's lips as Libby unveiled her new fall collection, this week at the Westbridge cafeteria.
Her new fall collection? Is she selling clothes now?
Wait for it. On Monday, Libby modeled a dark brown wool skirt, complemented with a 3-button black and gray striped cashmere cardigan, all designed by the well-regarded fashion house Libby of Westbridge. Smart dressers know that the best casual clothes are the ones with the richest cuts and the most luxurious fabrics, noted Libby. How true. Wait, there's more.
That's why everyone's wearing velvet in this episode.
I also, I went back through the pictures, and the photo that Sabrina replaces, the one with Libby eating pie, the quote underneath is, "Libby, I like pie and lots of it." It is an amazing photo, by the way. On Wednesday, matters took a more businesslike turn as Libby strolled the school's concourse in a wool and Ivera suit?
Spell it.
It looks like Ivera. Sorry, lycra.
Ivory,
it's
I
lycra.
guess?
That's a Y.
It's lycra.
A wool and lycra suit, replete with snug shoulders and loose almost, and that's where it cuts off.
Oh.
Don't you want to know the rest of that?
Yes.
I do. Now, the article it replaces is, in all honesty, the article that replaces it, not nearly as good. It's very much like 10th grade writing, although I guess they're in 11th grade, so not trying hard, Sabrina.
Really? Because it seemed like Libby wrote a hell of an article
Pretty
on
well
herself.
Done. Although it's not from Libby, it's just from someone.
Oh.
No writer's credit there.
Damn it.
This one, Why We're Really Here by Sabrina Spellman. I'm going to try to do a Sabrina voice.
I don't think this is going to be good.
Have you ever wondered why we're No.
Why did her voice go so deep?
That's what we do. Have you ever wondered why we're really here at Westbridge High? Ever considered what the purpose of this high school experience, really is? They seem like easy questions, but they're deceptively hard to answer, particularly when you consider the following. Bullet point. A football player is told by his coach that practice is more important than studying for a history test. Bullet point. A group of girls are given preferential treatment because they're cheerleaders.
Wow, it seems like she's thrown shade all over the place.
Bullet point.
She's like, it's not enough to try and show that education should be given priority over sports. Nah, let me throw Libby some shade.
Bullet point. Libby's a bitch. No. Bullet point.
Fashion is talked about more than pie.
Here's some bad writing. Bullet point. And the science club budget is also cut so that the basketball team can have new velour warm-up suits.
Ooh. I mean, those rich fabrics, are they in an earth tone?
Is that what high school is all about?
Yes.
Sports, granted... Yes, it is. Very accurate. Sports, granted, are... And I think that's where it gets cut off. So, sports definitely are.
They are.
Two great articles there, Chris. Which would you have preferred to read? Obviously, the Libby
fashion one. Come on.
What did you have in these scenes, Chris?
Okay, so... you might have missed it, but when she's in the hall with Mr. Kraft, we get another tree outfit.
Oh, it's Mr. Kraft?
No, it's Sabrina.
She's wearing a different
She's
outfit?
the next day.
What is she wearing here?
The first scene you're talking about with her outfit, that was when she sneaks her article in, and then the next day...
Oh, is this the green outfit?
It's the green, like, velvet or velour top with what looks like a brown corduroy skirt, but it might not be corduroy.
Yeah, it looks really good, honestly. I think I like it a lot. I like the fit of the weird thing is the chest of the shirt is velour, but the sleeves aren't.
Yeah, it's like a raglan shirt, like those baseball tops where the sleeves are a different color, but it's different like texture,
It's different fabric almost.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. I think that I don't really love the brown on the skirt, but I think it fits her well. I think this looks like something Sabrina Teenage would be wearing. Also, the girl behind her is wearing a purple velvet shirt.
We must be looking at a different shot.
You'll see her. There's a black girl behind her where like walks by in a purple velvet shirt. Anyway, my other note here was that whole Libby Harvey Sabrina scene in the cafeteria is fucking fantastic.
I feel like a lot of scenes that's like a common thread in a lot of Sabrina episodes where they're in the cafeteria, Libby says something and Harvey says something kind of dumb, but gold.
Well, sure. Honestly, I think it's all great performances. Harvey isn't really, Nate Richard isn't really tasked with doing a lot, but I think Jenny Green is very funny as the super irritated because this pie photo isn't her, Libby, and then Sabrina, like, tongue-in-cheek the whole time is fucking great, too.
But if you think about it, like, you know how you were saying about Randy and the ears?
Yes.
I mean, that is terrifying. But imagine how crazy she must feel, Libby, when these things appear and she's like, what the fuck? I was never there. That never happened. Like, it must take a psychological toll.
I mean, there probably is some like stunning quality to it. I mean, they're able to write it off as, oh, she doctored the photo because that's a thing.
And well, Libby kind of deserves it because she's always a bitch. Like, that seems to that's sort of the takeaway. Like, you kind of are okay with it, like, and don't really think about it because you're like, well, Libby's a bitch, so it's her comeuppance. And like, I guess to a certain extent, she is taking, like, her behavior takes a psychological toll on Sabrina because she makes her feel inferior all the time. And
in this episode, like, I guess you could argue that Libby got to be editor by less than honest means.
Well,
because by introducing Valerie, she basically just pushed Kirk down and blamed it on Valerie. But once she's editor, it's like, listen, she is the editor. You know, how she got it is somewhat questionable, but like, so she's not printing your editorial. That's her power. You know, you don't have to slander her. Don't get me wrong, great photo work, but you know, maybe listen. This isn't even the height of Sabrina's awfulness in this episode.
But I never thought about it in that way. You know, like, yes, it happens all the time where she does something to Libby in retaliation, and you kind of think that it's deserved because...
No, you think it's not.
No, I mean, you're okay with it because, you know, Libby does some heinous stuff and says some awful things, and, you know, it seems like it's only fair. But, like, you don't really think about how that would affect Libby mentally, like, in terms of when things happen, it's like, oh, that's funny.
In terms of why are there pies in my fucking locker?
Or like even first season, like, oh, Libby can't control her lipstick, right?
Yes. That one I think I pointed out is just like terrifying because like
right?
my hands
I no longer have
stuff.
Control over my hand.
Yeah.
Like that, it's a scary thing. And you don't really think about it because you're just like in the instant like, oh, it's funny, haha.
The best thing
But then you don't think like, Libby's probably going home and freaking out, going to her doctor, like, something's wrong with my arm, getting tests done. Like,
the best part of that episode is Libby's like freaking out, and her friends are just like behind her, watching her, not helping her at all. It's like,
yeah,
what's her play here? Let's sit here and watch a little bit longer.
I mean, I, of course, growing up was like hardcore Sabrina, like cheering for her, like,
you're supposed to.
Fuck that Libby.
It's not Libby the teenage bitch.
And I'm not like, you know, pro Libby at all. She does some awful things. Libby lovers. But at the same time, I feel like I'm watching it with another set of eyes now, and I don't know. I feel like so much of Sabrina's personality has been tainted for me, and now that I'm more mature and I see, you know, other people have feelings too.
At the ripe old age of 20-something.
Because you don't think about that when you're watching it.
And really, that is the point of this podcast as a work of art, which it is. At home, Hilda is in full Brawny Man garb as she enters the kitchen with a chainsaw. After a bit of stupid accent work, she goes to work cutting the tree down.
You best take cover. Me and this tree here have some business to tend to.
Sabrina then enters the living room, and as the doorbell rings, she answers it only to discover that it's Mr. Kraft, come to use his best power as vice principal. Surprise.
Home visit.
That's right. Hitting on your aunt, my best power. He tells Zelda his desire for Sabrina to write a retraction about her offensive editorial. But when she notes that you can't retract an opinion, he just asks if they're in a fucking cult or something here. What's going on? He then hears the chainsaw going and rudely just busts through their house into the kitchen, discovering Hilda deep in the tree, and is instantly mesmerized by this wood-chopping beauty, and is inspired to recite part of In the Rain by E.E. Cummings.
Hi. I was
The holy city, which is your face, your little cheeks, the streets of smiles. E.E. Cummings.
Who are you?
Willard Kraft, Vice Principal.
Hilda Spellman. Not interested.
No, I've never seen anything like this before.
It's called a tree.
Right.
I'm glad our niece is being taught by someone so worldly.
You know, once you get this out of here, the floor is going to be a mess. I'd be happy to give you some tips on refinishing, you know, over coffee. Or maybe dinner and dancing.
No.
He introduces himself as Willard Kraft, Vice Principal, and she returns with Hilda Spellman, not interested. He offers to give her some tips on refinishing her floors over dinner and dancing, get you polish up the hardwood, but she just flatly says no and returns to her trimming as he leaves and like Zelda and Sabrina just snicker from the side. At Westbridge later, Valerie tells Sabrina that if she doesn't talk to Kirk soon, she won't be able to take another breath, so Sabrina just mocks her friend. After Val walks away, Sabrina just zaps the magic book into her locker in plain view of anyone walking by and looks for something to help Valerie, eventually finding a spell to summon Cupid, reciting it in an empty classroom soon after. What appears is a wonderful old man in a diaper, and he's fucking aware that he doesn't look like Cupid. Don't tell him that. And don't insult his funny little afro. She tells him that she wants Kirk to fall in love with Valerie, and after paying his $5.95 fee, he hits Kirk with a love arrow, which initially makes him think that a nerdy kid touched his butt, giving us a bit of 90s queer fear, because a boy touched my butt and I'm a boy, I must massacre this young man, as opposed to saying, listen, friend, your sexuality is your own, but please, get to know my brain before you get to know my body.
Don't sexually harass me in the hall.
I think mine's a bit more
Because men can be sexually harassed too.
Absolutely. Listen, I've heard stories from myself. This doesn't work. Don't sexually harass anyone, folks. Yeah. No joke.
I'm just nodding. I mean,
not everything is a joke
serious.
Here. Some good, sensible social commentary here on the witch trials. We then get some music right out of a Cialis commercial as Kirk gets a shot of Valerie, and she can't remember her own name once he asks what her name is,
which was kind of stupid. Come on,
kind of.
Hi, what's your name?
I can't remember.
One moment we are feeling spontaneous.
Surprise, I'm home.
Next, we are happily interrupted. Hey, no problem for guys like me with ED. There's Cialis. Cialis is the only erectile dysfunction tablet clinically proven to both go to work fast in as little as 30 minutes for some men and work up to 36 hours.
Also, she looks pretty good. Like this episode, like Valerie is. Listen,
there's a definitive instance of mom hair.
Oh, those bangs? Yeah, those bangs are pretty terrible. She later runs up to Sabrina in the cafeteria, telling her that Kirk asked her out, before running off to throw up with excitement. Okay.
Bleh.
Just like Chris just did. Chris.
Yes.
This is actually your first episode on the Witch Trials with Mr. Kraft.
Yes,
so I want to get your opinion of Martin Mull and in this scene also. Because this is a very important scene for Martin Mull in this episode. Finding his lady love, Hilda. Chopping wood.
I think in terms of the acting, I think he does a good job. Mm-hmm. I think he really sells it. In terms of the scene, what the fuck? You definitely can't just show up at a student's house unannounced and then walk in and then insult them by saying that they're in a cult and then just run through their house.
That's the big one. That's the one where you're like, okay, you've now given me permission to shoot you if I feel invaded, which I do. Martin Mull, I think, is like I've never been the biggest Mr. Kraft fan. Watching back as an adult, I think.
I thought you loved Mr. Kraft.
I don't. I didn't. I mean, I can appreciate.
There are some good Mr. Kraft episodes.
I can appreciate he's very funny, and Martin Mull was very good at delivering funny lines. I think he's really good in this scene.
He's very committed to his character.
Absolutely. The whole E.E. Cummings thing. I think that whole scene once he first sees Hilda is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, like there's good dialogue, but it's a good performance also. A very good performance, in fact.
I also loved Hilda in that scene.
Okay. Did you like how strong a woman Hilda was?
I mean, I did, but
no,
of course. I thought it was pretty cool. I liked her outfit too. I liked her comebacks. Mm-hmm. I thought they were really good. Yep. And this scene just shows what I've known for a very long time, and that's that lumberjacks are really fucking hot. You just can't, resist the allure of a lumberjack.
You've got to get all jacked up.
What?
That's the lumberjack pickup line.
No.
You want to get jacked up, baby? And he takes his dick
I
out.
can help you refinish these floors.
Help you polish the hardwood. I already made that joke.
Oh,
she does have a fun comeback where it's like, what's this? And she's like, it's a tree. Wow, you're a hell of a vice principal, you dumb son of a bitch.
Haven't done a lot of traveling, have you?
But yeah, I also think that it's impressive that just like this is episode 3 for Valerie. Technically, I guess you could say 2 because the last 2 were originally aired in one hour episode. Mm-hmm. But like her and Sabrina just feel like they're like exponentially better friends already than Valerie
so close.
Ever did.
Like they seem very chatty.
Sorry, than
and
Jenny
like,
ever did.
Like they're like-minded to a certain extent. Whereas,
they actually feel like high school girls who are friends, as opposed to Jenny, which always at most felt
kind of
like,
always felt like she was an outsider.
She felt like somebody like you knew in school who like you said hi to and like borrowed a pencil from occasionally, but weren't really friends with.
Like the girl that you became friends with because you were an outsider and you had no friends.
Mm-hmm. And basically, the story.
That's really what it is. I mean,
yeah, but I also think Lindsay Sloan is very good in this scene. Cupid, Chris.
He's hairy.
Patrick T. O'Brien, in fact, is actually returning here to Sabrina. He played the Index Man.
Yes, he did.
In that episode, Meeting Dad's Girlfriend, which is one of my favorites. I think he's fantastic.
He's good.
And you know what's funny is they're two very different characters.
He does them both really well, though.
Absolutely, because that one is like a very hyper-energetic character who really feels like, I don't know, they're just very different. Like that one, very peppy, very, constant. This one feels a lot schmuckier. Like he's just resigned to everyone.
Yeah.
But two great performances. Very funny here also.
Love is beautiful, love is alive. Send me Cupid for just $5.95. You're Cupid? You don't look like Cupid.
Gee, never heard that one before.
I want you to make him attracted to her.
$5.95.
Also, just respect for wearing that diaper. I mean,
oh god,
listen,
he let it all hang out.
It is a gutsy move, and he is confident, and I respect that. Same thing goes for the afro.
Let's talk about the spell book.
Oh, how she rips a spell out?
Oh my god, it irritated me to no end. Like, this is not your fucking notebook. It's a spell book that's been handed down through your family for generations. Like, have some fucking respect. You don't just, like, rip a part of a page out. What the fuck? Your kids are gonna be fucked.
And she zaps it into an open locker.
Yeah,
and it's a big fucking book.
I was waiting for Mr. Kraft to just, like, come up behind her. Like, oh, what's this mysterious book you have? Is that your cult, bylaws?
Very good, Chris. You've been in a lot of cults. We can
Thank
tell.
you.
The thing that also bothered me is, so Sabrina goes into the magic book and finds a spell to summon Cupid, who can make people fall in love.
She finds it pretty easily.
Pretty easily. I sure hope there's not a previous episode where one or both of the aunts said that there's no spell for love.
Well, it's not love, maybe. It's just like...
I'll put that scene in right now.
Look, I think I'd rather just use a love spell, but I can't seem to find one in my magic book.
Oh, Sabrina, I hate to disappoint you, but there is no love spell. Love is far too precious to tamper with.
You mean too weird. That's why there's no standardized formula. Although Calvin Klein came remarkably close with obsession.
There you go, folks. It's. I mean,
well, it doesn't summon love. Maybe it's just like interest, or
listen.
I don't know. There's got to be some loophole. There's always.
I'm pretty sure she says, "I want him to fall in love with her."
Yeah,
that's what she's saying. It's just not a lot of foresight for the writers here.
Did you notice Kirk's chenille sweater?
It is very.
It looked really good on him.
It's a good fit.
Personally,
he's a good looking guy.
I think guys wearing chenille is really weird. And I mean, chenille sweaters for girls were like very in, and now they're making a comeback. But on dudes. Like, I don't think I'd really ever seen that. Or
He's a trendsetter, that Kirk.
He is. But he pulls it off.
Yes.
Good job, Kirk.
Sure is afraid of getting touched on the butt by a guy, though. Jeez. And he's an athlete, so he's always slapping asses.
Yeah.
Come on, Kirk. Get comfortable with it. Sabrina then joins a sore Harvey at lunch, who explains that Coach was hard on him since he didn't quite like her editorial. She then says that she knows who told him that they're dating, spotting Mr. Kraft talking to Coach, and he shoots her a quick peace sign. Just hey, peace, buddy. Cool.
Your
dude.
love cult.
Yeah.
All over.
Go kill someone, you crazy man.
The owl lover cult.
That's right. Get ready to join, ladies. Libby. Anyway, she then considers writing a retraction, but he says not to do so, no matter how it affects his spine. Libby then comes over to Sabrina while she's in the halls and gives her a piece of paper telling her it's her next assignment for the Westbridge Lantern, transcribing the lunch menu as Mr. Kraft says no more editorials for her. After condescendingly asking if she can handle it, Libby heads over to her locker and opens it, only to find Sabrina has zapped it full of cream pies, which fall on Libby. And when I say fall, I mean some guy is behind the locker just throwing pies out, because that's obviously what it is. Libby, of course, knows that I don't even like pie, in a very, almost like heart-wrenchingly sad thing, where it's like, she's like almost crying and there's just pies falling on her.
But do you see, like, the emotional toll?
Don't
that
get me
this
wrong,
shit takes?
I get it. It's just, it's sad, man.
Sad, man.
Jeez, what are you going to do? Mr. Kraft then comes up to Sabrina, accusing her of putting the pies in the locker, which she did, and threatens to give her detention, but she first whines like, "Aw, come on," which is really irritating. But then she notes how this will upset her Aunt Hilda, who likes him so very much. He says that he didn't get that feeling, but she just says that Hilda is shy. So he tells her not to worry, as this detention doesn't have to happen this year, as she then scampers away, and he just notes that he's still catnip to the ladies. They like to
Sounds like something I would say.
They like to sniff me and rub their faces all over me. Yes. I'm sticking with it. Yeah. That's how it works.
Still catnip to the ladies.
Back at the Spellman house, Sabrina is seen irritatingly begging Hilda to go on a date with Mr. Kraft, which she really doesn't want to do, as he's a goofball, and we can all agree on that. When Sabrina explains that she thinks that he thinks she has magical powers, Hilda smartly just tells her not to do fucking magic in school.
Stop ripping the fucking spell book.
It's not that fucking hard. Stop summoning men in diapers. Before getting back to her important article about George Clooney, which Sabrina then zapped herself into to beg a little bit more. This forces Hilda to run up the steps, and we then get some CGI Sabrina heads surrounding Hilda, begging her again to date Mr. Kraft, which he doesn't do, and Sabrina just says they'll talk about it later.
Seems kind of dangerous.
Oh, with CGI heads?
Yeah, no, I mean, she's on the stairs, and you're, like, surrounding her with heads, and she could easily lose her step and fall.
The phone then rings, Chris, and as Salem mentions that the phone is ringing, that's one of his things this episode is just like... Doorbell. Sabrina picks it up, and guess who? It's Mr. Kraft, and he didn't want to use the school's phone, so he's calling on a payphone to talk to Hilda. Salem suggests that she start speaking Spanish and then hang up. Smart move.
Smart idea.
But she instead zaps her voice into Hilda's voice and agrees to go on a date with Mr. Kraft on Saturday night, adding that she'd love to. Willard. Salem just asks her to do a Nixon impression.
Phone.
Hello?
Oh, hi. May I speak with Hilda, please?
One moment, please. Salem, what am I going to do? It's Mr. Kraft calling for Aunt Hilda.
Start speaking in Spanish and hang up.
Hello?
Hi, Hilda. This is Willard Kraft. I was wondering if you'd like to have dinner on Saturday night.
Why, I'd love to. Willard.
That was amazing. Now do Nixon.
Chris, let's go back to the scene where Sabrina finds Harvey in his bad spine.
His hat?
His fucking pork pie hat.
It's so ugly.
Who thinks that these are good looking? Like, I get it. It may be on trend in 1997 because ska is a thing, but they don't look good on Nate Richard at all.
Yeah.
He's got a weird head for a hat. The shirt isn't great either, but the plaid hat especially,
It's
not good.
plaid, and it's weird. It's a weird plaid. If it were like one color, but it seems out of character. Like it doesn't seem Harvey.
Especially
seems like something Nate Richard would be wearing today.
Yeah, possibly. He has them in his closet. Especially considering that season 1, so much of Harvey was in his hair. Like now, it's like we're gonna change up Harvey. Gonna put him in a hat.
I don't like it.
I think you also had mentioned all the juices.
Yes.
Please elaborate on all the.
Well, I just remember he has 2, and she has 1, and
he has 2 and a cup.
And a cup.
So like
maybe
a
to
coffee?
pour the juice in.
Maybe
or
a coffee
water
or a water.
It just seemed like a lot.
We do have some delicious looking chocolate cake though.
And also, Harvey, if you want to hydrate, that's not what you should be drinking. That's just sugar.
Another mediocre outfit from Harvey in this episode. The pie in the locker thing is pretty funny, and I do appreciate how they were wise, and as they were using cream pies, put Gently Green in a black leather jacket so it would appear more.
Her outfit is fucking weird.
That one is a bit weird, because also like the blue shirt underneath is like a kind of like a buffalo clasp, and it looks thick. It looks like a
polyester, probably.
No, but it almost looked like a sweater, like quality material.
I don't know.
It was kind of weird.
I thought it was like almost like Harvey's shirt. Where
This
it was
whole
like
episode is us just
polyester.
criticizing
I
clothing.
know. I'm sorry. Is this what happens just when I'm on, or does this happen a lot with other people?
It happens more when you're on than with anyone else.
Well, that's not going to surprise me.
I also thought that the Sabrina heads knocked over my drink there. I also thought that the Sabrina
she's wearing a polyester shirt, like Harvey's, with a big ass collar.
Yes, it is a pretty big collar.
That's out over her jacket.
Anyway, I thought the Sabrina heads looked not too bad for 1997 TV CGI. Chris, any notes here?
I like Sabrina's outfit. It's like a white.
Is it the lace
with
one?
A black lace.
Yeah, it's very
cute.
Again, like this
sweater sets. They're just like the thing.
This feels more like something she'd wear if only because it's accompanied with a short skirt.
Yeah,
and like anything with a short skirt is like Sabrina
and
Teenage
tights.
Witch. Yeah,
always.
So let's get back to this. Later, Sabrina's in her room and calls Cupid once more, interrupting his crotch powdering, asking him to temporarily make Hilda fall in love with Mr. Kraft. He says there's no trouble, but he needs Hilda to sign a release, as while apparently children don't need to sign one, adults do, as adults sue, and he doesn't want to have to put the nice diaper on and be in front of a judge anymore. It's a pain in the ass. Literally, because it's a diaper.
And it chafes.
It fucking gets all up in your crack, and then you break out of hives or something. I don't know what.
Yeah, you get diaper rash. Genius.
I can use a toilet. I'm not gonna lie. Leave it all in.
Yep.
Sabrina then decides to go a different route, and while Salem's offer to throw on the taffeta and go in Hilda's place is appealing, the teen witch soon discovers a make your friend act like a dummy spell.
Which he probably ripped right out of the fucking book.
Let's get this out of here. Salem explains that the person still has their motor skills, but you have to talk for them, a la Charlie McCarthy. She asks him if he'll distract Zelda while she puts a spell on Hilda, and he agrees, noting that he's been meaning to talk to Zelda anyway. Downstairs later, Zelda is in a rush to go to her Witches' Council duty and tell Salem to just get on with what he wants to talk to her about. He says that now that she's on the Witches' Council, he wants to show her a more caring, compassionate side of himself, not one set on world domination anymore. And
golden waffles.
Or golden waffles. He then goes on to show her some doctored photos, including one with him and Mother Teresa, which he explains was taken at a fundraiser. A fundraiser, am I right? Because they had a lot of fun doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Elsewhere, Hilda comes downstairs saying goodbye to Sabrina as she's headed to the gym, but Sabs stops her first by saying that her body is too fucking good for a gym, go eat a piece of cake. And then by crying because being a teenager is so awful.
Bye, Sabrina.
Wait, where are you going?
The gym.
But you can't. I mean, you don't need to go to the gym with that body.
I don't go to the gym for my body. I go to flirt with that cute juice boy.
Wait! And Hilda!
What?
It's so awful!
What's so awful?
Being a teenager!
Go fuck yourself. You've got an infinite number of cute skirts. Your life is super easy. Anyway, back in the dining room.
You have fucking magical powers.
Also that, but really the cute skirts really piss me off.
Al just wants one cute skirt.
They never fit right. Anyway, back in the dining room.
You're too hippie.
Zelda, yeah, that's my problem. Not hippie enough.
They just fall right off.
It's like a hula hoop. Zelda calls Salem on these obviously doctored photos, and while he begins to defend himself, he basically just goes into a crying breakdown and says that he's sick and tired of being a cat. But her attempts to comfort him only make him cry even louder.
Cue that song. Everybody wants to be a cat.
He doesn't. It's the opposite of what he wants.
You should cue it.
No. She eventually agrees to put in a good word for him before discovering a photo of him and Sherry Lewis, which is a very 90s reference, which he says is from his personal collection. Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back to the Cupid thing, okay? Calls Cupid a second time, wants to make Hilda fall in love with Mr. Kraft against her will. Adults have to sign releases, kids don't need releases. What legal system is this? What job would think that we have to be more protected against legal action from adults than from kids? Kids need releases if they do anything. There's a reason why schools make parents sign releases when they go on field trips and such. It's because parents sue about their kids all the fucking time.
But I think that goes into what you were saying about this character being more kind of skeezy. Mm-hmm. He isn't concerned with, it's not about, it's wrong to do it to an adult, or it's wrong to do it to a kid. It's about he doesn't want to get sued. Mm-hmm. So kids aren't as litigious. That's really all that matters. That's the reason. It has nothing to do with, protecting anyone's rights or anything. It's really just about protecting himself.
Yep. I really liked Sabrina's outfit in these scenes. This is where she's wearing that, I forget what you call it, but that Asian-inspired, the black short-sleeve blouse with the mandarin collar and the pants.
I really liked it.
I liked it a lot. I like the collar a lot. I think she looks good in that style. I thought the pants made her ass look huge in the best way.
I thought the same thing.
Fucking great. Looks fantastic. No taffeta, though, which is always a bit of a letdown.
Damn it.
We get an incredibly fun scene with Salem and Zelda also. They're always great playing off of each other, Beth Broderick and Nick Mackay. Salem and Mother Teresa? Fun? Not necessarily a fun fact. Mother Teresa had been dead for a month when this episode aired.
Aww.
So, less than convenient timing for Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And Sherry Lewis. What did you think of the Sherry Lewis call out?
I thought it was cute.
Yeah.
I loved Sherry Lewis. I loved Lamb Chop.
That's something that kids, people watching it nowadays is like, who the fuck is Sherry Lewis?
Yeah.
Anything else here to add?
No, I think Sabrina saying that being a teenager is hard is probably one of the most relatable lies she could come up with.
Yeah.
Because, Shit is hard.
Yeah, her backup was, I'm just so sick of skirts. It's like, I don't know. There's so many of them in my closet. One other thing, I think this is where you can see that the writers for Sabrina have realized that Nick Bakai's comedy crying is fantastic, and we should make him do it as much as possible.
Salem, these are obviously doctored photos.
It hurts me that you would...
I can't keep it up. I don't know those guys. They wouldn't return my calls. I just don't want to be a cat anymore.
Don't cry. Your fur will melt. Okay, I'll put in a good word at the Witches' Council for you.
You will?
Sure.
He does it very well.
Okay. So Hilda is still comforting Sabrina when Mr. Kraft knocks on the door, leading Sabrina to spin Hilda around while saying an incantation, leaving Hilda as a dummy. After illustrating how it works, Sabrina zaps Hilda into the ugliest outfit anyone has ever worn or will ever wear on the face of God's green earth. And she runs off to hide in the closet as dummy Hilda enters the door. And is complimented by the ghastly garment, by the ghastly garment, Mr. Kraft.
Willard.
She says that he looks totally hot with Sabrina's coaxing, before saying let's go as an excited Mr. Kraft leads her to his car and Sabrina scampers after them. The date then arrives at Custer's Steakhouse, where Kraft comments on Hilda's silence until Sabrina arrives and sneaks behind a bush, giving Hilda some dialogue, which I thought was a really funny joke.
You were awfully quiet in the car.
Hi. Whew. I mean, what a great place.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
They grab a booth as Sabrina sneakily sits in the one next to them, and when a pushy waitress forces Sabrina to order immediately, she says an iced tea and the cowboy special, as does Hilda, because that's how this whole thing works. She interrupts Mr. Kraft's backstory about being from Indiana. The same then happens when Sabrina notes that she's real hungry, and Mr. Kraft calls for the waitress. Later, Kraft is boring Sabrina and everyone, in fact, with his story of divorce and grandma living.
Grandma living?
My grandma's living. God, get over it. Now, he lives with his nana. Sabrina calls that pretty gross, which isn't gross. It's just a thing, really, you know? Come on, Sabrina, don't be so vapid, you dumb bitch. Wow. I'm sick of her. Sabrina gives Hilda the blandest backstory imaginable before having her demand Willard stop picking on her and Harvey, which her chastising eventually makes him do.
Enough about me. Tell me about yourself.
Not much to tell. I play the violin. I want you to stop being mean to Sabrina.
I haven't been mean to Sabrina.
If so, you've been mean to Harvey, too.
I don't know what she's been telling you,
Just
but I...
promise to quit it.
Promise.
Woohoo!
Kind of pushy, aren't you? I think I like that.
Just then, Valerie walks by, relieved to see Sabrina, as she's there with Kirk on their date, but she got ready too early, and now her hair and her makeup have peaked. Sabrina is shocked and first asks, unbelievably, that she's here with Kirk, which Hilda does, and Mr. Kraft gives us the great line of, I don't know any Kirk.
He says it so well.
It's fantastic delivery by Martin Mull. It really, really is. Sabrina's insistence that Valerie has not peaked then leads Hilda to compliment Mr. Kraft, and Hilda's repetition of Sabrina telling Valerie to come near her as she's got an eyelash makes Mr. Kraft think that Hilda's in the mood for smoochies. In fact, she's not, but his luscious kissing does snap Hilda out of the spell, causing her to scream, zap in some mace, use the mace, and then run away. While she runs, she spots Sabrina as she's trying to get up, and more screaming ensues. Okay, Chris. So this is it. This is where we see Sabrina do the awful thing.
Yeah.
By the way, just
one of the awful.
One
things.
of them, the most awful so far. The incantation was, "Be a dummy, be a fool, switch off your brains, but please don't drool." She says it very quickly, so it's really. I had to go back.
Please don't drool.
Yeah, I had to go back and turn on subtitles just to figure out what she was saying. Sabrina
brain rapes her aunt.
Is the fucking worst. She's hypnotizing her aunt to pimp her out against her will to go on a date with a guy she's said flatly she's not interested in and doesn't want to go out with, to get herself out of a punishment that she deserved through her own actions.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Sabrina. Like, legitimately, you're a terrible person.
Because it's, at this point, that's not really, it has nothing to do with Harvey. She's in trouble because he said that she put the pies in Louie's locker. So her setting up the date with Hilda is really just to get her out of the detention and anything to do with Harvey or the article at all.
Right. In fact, Harvey told her not to do anything because she didn't want him to, he didn't want her to retract the article.
So she wasn't going to retract it. No one could make her retract it. So
he'd already taken at least part of the punishment by being worked out. It's all for her benefit, absolutely. Yeah. It's
all to
worst.
Get out of fucking detention. Go to one detention, like, really.
And it's your fucking aunt who's like housed you and acted as your de facto parent and mother and everything. You're a fucking piece of shit, Sabs. Fuck off. Speaking of fuck off, that dress.
Yeah.
Chris, please.
I don't know if you know this, but Mom had a very similar dress in the 80s.
I think I remember a photo of like a very sparkly dress and Mom in it, but
it's like feather, almost like a feather design on the sleeves.
It's like it's like a cocktail length also.
Yeah. But it's sequin and there's like almost like red feathers. So it's like she has red wings and then like a red like feathered breast chest plate
down the middle. Yeah.
And then the thing that makes me sad is that the cut of the dress, I mean, also she has like shoulder pads.
She does.
The cut of the dress, if it were in a different color, if it were just all black,
it fits her nicely.
Would be really nice. Yeah. Like the cutout in the back is nice. The neckline is really nice. It hits her at a good length.
The shoulders aren't great, but
Well, I mean, it's the shoulder pads.
Yeah. But
the like sequins and then the fact that it's like a feather design, I swear, I think Mom's was like a feather design too. Hers might have been slightly longer, but you should show Mom that picture and see if she remembers her dress. I don't know what color hers was though. I think it might have been green.
This thing was ugly then. It's ugly now, of course.
Well, but
no one wore anything like this in the 90s.
This was 97.
Yeah.
This
wasn't
was
fashionable.
A straight up 80s like Vegas cocktail like.
The amazing thing is Sabrina zaps her into this.
Yeah.
This is what Sabrina thinks looks good.
Well, maybe this is what Sabrina thinks Mr. Kraft would like.
Which is also even more questionable. It's like, now you're really just
you're fucking dressing her up.
Yeah.
Like, what do you like?
Also as a costuming choice, it's costuming. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Who would buy this thing? Like,
well, I think that's the point. I think the point is to make her look
ugly.
As ridiculous as possible. It's like a fucking phoenix rising.
Now, my honest to God first reaction to it, I think I showed Brian last episode after the episode, and he said it was it looked like something a ice skater would wear, which I think is fair.
A little bit, yeah.
My honest to God reaction is it shares a shocking resemblance to a ring jacket worn by Texas wrestling legend Eddie Guerrero in the mid-90s.
Mm-hmm.
There's that.
Oh, yeah.
And he also had a red one.
His are like lightning bolts or like...
Yeah, on the shoulders. It's pretty fucking close.
But hers is like a bird costume. Like, all she needs is a hat.
Just also enjoy that Eddie Guerrero mullet from 1994.
Very nice. Looks like Dad.
Coincidentally, Eddie Guerrero passed away 12 years ago today.
Aw.
They were recording this. R.I.P. Eddie Guerrero. But yes, let's go. there's not many other contenders
this
for the
this is it.
for the back of the linen closet. I think the main gimmick of this scene, the whole repetition joke, I think that and the spell that leads to it is actually a really kind of fun use case of magic.
Yeah.
It's inventive, it's unique, it plays out well. I just thought this whole thing was really rushed. It felt really rushed because like Mr. Kraft only picks her up for the date at like the 15-minute mark of this episode, and this episode only goes like 21 something. Like there's so much build up, the actual date is only 3 minutes.
Yeah, but I feel like you need the build up because you have to get him to the point where you're aware that he's interested in her, and Sabrina learns that and learns that she can use that to her advantage. So you kind of have to, I feel like it's layer upon layer upon layer. She takes one step that leads her to this, and then another step and another step and another step. So you have to have the part about the article to get her to the point where he wants her to retract it. Yeah, no, I just think that like this scene, and especially the scene after where like she gets her punishment, just feels super rushed. I think the punishment is super rushed, but I think that's because no one really gives a shit. Yeah, and it's like, how are you going to wrap this one up? Yeah. Go ahead. I think this one, I know what you mean, but I feel like it was given enough time. I almost feel like, I know it's like a BC story, but like the fact that she's there with Kirk, that Valerie's there with Kirk, I feel like, okay, that just got thrown in there, like that where it didn't really belong. Well, I think it's a it gets you to the point where Sabrina is talking and not realizing that Hilda is saying the same thing. Which I think, again, for this gimmick, they do just about everything you could do with a gimmick. You do a bit where Hilda isn't talking in the car, which I thought was a funny joke. You do the bit where Sabrina doesn't realize what she's saying is being repeated, which is a funny joke. And I like you get Hilda saying some like teen talk. Yeah. I like the way they edited it because there's no reason to hear her repeat it, and I think it was funnier hearing his reaction. I agree.
I'm on my date with Kirk right now, and I can't go through with it. You're here with Kirk?
I don't know a Kirk.
I think it was given enough time for me because I feel like in terms of the episode, I think everything was well balanced in terms of you have all the pieces. There's a lot of pieces in the story, but they all fall into place together and they all make sense together, and they do sort of build to the point where, you have her basically taking over her aunt's body, which is fucking disturbing. I would have also liked to see the scene after this where Hilda and Sabrina explain to Valerie and Mr. Kraft everything, including how Hilda zapped in a thing of mace and sprayed him with it. Would have been fun. But yeah, we also get some backstory on Mr. Kraft. He, from Indiana. Father was a bricklayer. His brother and his ex-wife ran out on him, and he lives with Nana. A lot of that, we do see his brother eventually. We see his wife eventually. And you know that his brother steals all his ladies. He does. His wife ends up being a witch. Spoiler alert. And there is an episode where he moves in with the Spellmans because his grandma is having her house fixed or something, or his apartment above the or something like that fixed. So it is held up in continuity, which is always nice. We then cut to the two Spellmans climbing the house steps as Sabrina apologizes, eventually using the floating heads, again to no avail. Hilda says that she's taking Sabrina to Zelda as she's better at punishing her. In the other realm, past a line of eccentrically dressed jurors waiting to use a phone, Zelda lectures Sabrina about putting a spell on Hilda, but Sabs blames it on Zelda throwing out that witch's council letter. Zelda also manages to call out Hilda's hideous dress. Zelda goes on to explain that putting a spell on her guardian means that it makes it impossible for them to protect her, but Sabrina says that she was doing it selflessly to protect Harvey.
But you don't understand. It was the only way I could save Harvey from Mr. Kraft.
Oh, so you were doing this to save Harvey?
Right.
Is that the only person you were trying to save?
Yes.
So it was a totally selfless act.
Okay.
Let's see if you're telling the truth. Sabrina, if you're telling the truth, you'll be able to stay inside the circle.
Looking good. I'm staying in the circle.
But that's not all. You have to stay inside the circle while wrestling your conscience.
Zelda doesn't buy it, of course, and she decides to test Sabrina by having her sumo wrestle her conscience. Sabrina, shockingly, is immediately pushed out of the sumo ring and spends the rest of the scene being chased by her flabby conscience while wondering why it can't speak English. Later, at Westbridge, Sabrina asks if Valerie is hearing wedding bells with Kirk, and she says that while Kirk is cute and would make her more popular, all he cares about is cars, and they both wonder if this is the beginning of Valerie's fading vanity. Mr. Kraft then walks by, and while I thought he was going to end up giving her detention, he just basically says that her family's a bunch of fucking freaks and walks past. Harvey then comes by and asks Sabrina to go to the slicery after school. She says that she'd love to before remembering that she's grounded, and we cut to her grounding, that being that she's literally buried up to her neck in the lawn while the aunties do yard work. The rain eventually drives the Spellman family inside, leaving Sabrina to complain and ultimately getting zapped an umbrella to save her from the raindrops and attract much-needed lightning.
Oh, it's raining. We should go in.
I am out of here.
What about me? Thanks. Exactly what I need. Lightning rod.
As the credits roll, we see Cupid talking to Salem in Sabrina's room about how he's not comfortable doing a job for him. Salem asks if it's because he's a cat and she's a woman, and Cupid goes on to explain that no, it's because he's a cat and she's Sherry Lewis. He leaves, and as he does, Salem gives him a bunch of shit, including get a real job and put on some fucking pants. Yeah. He also has some shit for Lamb Chop. It's not a lamb, it's a fucking puppet. Fuck puppets. I get the bit of irony here. I'm also a puppet. Yes, and that's really where the episode closes. Fun will close there, but what did you think of the Witches' Council scene?
I thought it was okay. I mean, it wasn't anything special. I like the touches that they included to make it seem like jury duty.
Mm-hmm. Name tags.
Yeah, and the guy coming around to say, 10 minutes till we resume.
I don't know if you saw in the line of people waiting for the phone, the person in front was a little person.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's the actress who will go. I think it might have been the one who played Little Hilda. It looked a lot like Little Hilda. Wilda, if you remember. And I think she might also return to play Thumbelina, but I in my mind, it might be somebody else. I'm not sure about that, but she did look like the one who played Little Hilda.
I forgot to mention earlier the third tree outfit.
Ah, yes.
It's actually worn by Valerie.
It's very green, isn't it?
It's
very brown on the date.
When Kirk asks her out, I guess, he might have been just blinded by his beautiful sweater, but
and his beautiful smackable ass.
She's wearing a brown velvet top, but it's a set, so it's a tank top with a short sleeve shirt over it.
Yeah,
both velvet and green pants. I
thought she looked good on the day too, also wearing brown. She had a see-through thing over a camisole. It was very nice.
She wearing brown?
I believe she was. But Chris, that is the episode there. Episode 27, Dummy for Love. Dummy. Who's the? I guess
Hilda's
a dummy, and Sabrina's plan is dumber. So Dummy and Dumber. That's the show title I came up with before the episode, folks.
I think Al Lover.
It's going to be a hard one to translate into whatever. We'll figure it out.
To translate into what?
It's font, but I'll think about it. Anyway, that's the episode, Chris. As you know, here on the Witch Trials, you have a couple of after the review events, I guess you could say. Here in the Witch Trials, first and foremost, we have to do the TGIF scale. We have to rate this episode. This Good I Feel scale, 1 to 5 scale. Corresponding TGIF shows. Chris, you know the scale. I don't want to go through it. Where does this rank on the TGIF scale for you?
I'd say it's Family Matters.
I agree. I think it's a solid Family Matters too.
Yeah. There's a lot of pieces in the works, but they all fit together well.
Mm-hmm. A lot of good jokes, some fun performances. Martin Mull.
Yeah.
I think the magical bit this episode is pretty inventive and fun.
I mean, that article.
That stuff is fantastic. And I think thinking back to unique uses of magic on the series, it's probably one of the more ever since Mando.
And the Halloween episode when she
that's after Mando.
Clones
That's
herself.
before Mando.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But that's very good also. This kind of had a very similar feel to that.
Yeah, it did.
But yeah, very, very, very good. Not great, but a lot of fun performances here. By the by, Mando is Beth Broderick's favorite episode of Sabrina.
Good. She's got good taste.
Very good taste. And
you still haven't found that music.
That's right. It drives me mad. Main event, of course, Back of the Linen Closet Award, our episodic award for each installment's biggest fashion flop. Chris,
do we even have
no,
to? It's Hilda's red. I don't know if it's leaves or feathers or whatever. The sequined.
That hideous Eddie Guerrero dress. I can't believe
we need to find that picture of Mom.
I can't believe anyone would have ever worn or bought that dress. Chris, that's the episode. Thank you so much for joining us on the Witch Trials once again. Always fun to have you here.
Mm-hmm.
Tell the folks where they can find out what you're doing on the interwebs, read what you write, and follow you.
They can follow me at Chris Conkers on Twitter and Instagram, and at chrisconkers.com. They can read what I write.
There you go, folks. Check it out there. And you can follow Sabrina's Witch Trials while you're there following Chris Conkers on Instagram, instagram.com/Sabrina's Witch Trials, on Facebook, facebook.com/Sabrina's Witch Trials, and on Twitter, twitter.com/Sabrina Podcast. You can also listen to the Witch Trials where you are doing it right now because it seems to work pretty well for you. You can also listen to us on iTunes, of course, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, the Google Play podcast section, your favorite podcatcher.
You got to get on Spotify.
Spotify, the whole podcast process is really annoying. You have to submit and they have to approve. It's a whole process.
You'd never get approved.
I know. Maybe if I had some more reviews. Hey, folks! You can also review us on iTunes, and you should do it there. I was actually looking at the reviews, and I had only checked the US iTunes reviews.
Mm-hmm.
The UK, there's a couple of the UK ones in there, and they're very nice also.
Aww,
so thank you to those two people who reviewed us there.
That's sweet.
But please, all those reviews are always a welcome and fun thing. And give me shoot me a screen grab if you do review us, and I'll call you out. Next episode, Chris.
In a nice way.
I'll call you out. You piece of shit. Next episode is a real fun one. It's one of the ones I've always remembered. Dante's Inferno. It's Sabrina's first date with a witch boy, I believe. And it's going to be a lot of fun. They go to a witch fast food, another realm fast food restaurant. He gives her a star. He turns out to be a dick. A lot of fun's going to happen next episode on the Witch Trials. But until then, I want to say thank you to everyone one last time for listening. And we will see you in the other realm.
Get a real job and some pants.